Hi, I'm Carrie Daniel with Gate College System, and I'm here with Brian Safdari. And today we're going to be talking about Gate strategies for the CSS profile. So tell us, what is the CSS profile?
The CSS profile is a financial aid form that's required for approximately 300 private universities. In addition to the FAFSA, a lot of private schools require you to complete the CSS profile in order to qualify for need-based scholarships, merit-based, and institutional scholarships.
I see. So which schools use the CSS profile?
Good question. The CSS profile, many private schools require them. One example would be USC. Another one would be Notre Dame University.
Right here up on the wall.
Yes, there you have it. And it's a very complex form that's almost 275 to over 300 questions depending on the school. So it's not your general FAFSA that everybody fills out the same questions when you submit the FAFSA. With the CSS profile, it could be anywhere from 275 questions to 300 and up. Depends on the school itself, on what type of questions in addition to the FAFSA that they want from a family in order for them to determine if they want to give you grants and scholarship.
So all schools use the FAFSA and some schools use the CSS profile. What about schools that require the FAFSA but require forms other than the CSS profile?
Sure. That is institutional forms that come directly from the schools in order for them to give their institutional scholarships, alumni scholarships, grants, any other reason why they want to give you money. They have their own forms in addition to all these other forms that we just talked about.
Very good information. Thank you for that. And can you give us some pro insider tips on how to fill out the CSS profile?
Sure. The CSS profile, first off, you cannot print the CSS profile. However, once you log in, you can actually go through all the questions and make sure you understand what you're filling out so that you avoid mistakes. Again, if there are over 80% mistakes on the FAFSA, imagine the CSS profile, how complicated these forms are. So a big one is on the FAFSA, I explained earlier that you do not list your primary residence. So when you submit the CSS profile, it actually asks, what is the net worth of your house? What is the value of your property? So in this case, you have to list the primary residence. In that situation, what we want to do for parents is to list the value of the house in a national standpoint, not if you live in California or if you live in New York or if you live in certain demographics of the country that home values are a lot higher than others. You want to make sure that you fill it out with a national value. Let me give you an example of that. We had a family in California. They live in Palo Alto, which is a high income area with high net worth families, which home values are very high as well.
Right.
They have a 3,500 square feet home that the value of the house in California is $2.5 million. Now, that same house in Texas is probably worth $300,000. So the form says, what is your value of your property? And when you look at that question, typically parents will go on to something called Zillow, or they will go on a website that lists their house value. What we do is I'll give you an insider tip if this is going to make your life easier. And what you want to do is you want to go to the Federal Housing Index Multiplier. It's actually a site that you can actually value your home nationally. So what we did was we went on that form, we listed when the parent bought the property, how much they paid for it, and it calculates your house nationally. So now this $2.5 million house, they owed about $1 million, so they're showing about $1.5 million of equity in that house, which means it's going to hurt them for financial aid. So legally and ethically, we went in there and we submitted the net worth or the property value at $600,000 because that's actually what the federal value of that house is. So now in this case, we just wiped out over $1 million of equity on that property, and because of that, they now qualify for grants and financial aid.
So that was expert tips from the experts here at Gate. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm Carrie Daniel, signing off.